just want, just like, because when when I dialed you on the phone, I could barely talk because I was still crapping on Andrew Cuomo. You heard that. I mean, I think that Andrew Cuomo's challenge is to, and he's not going to do well upstate, because we're just talking about the Democratic primary, and the Democrats upstate tend to actually be a little bit more progressive, I think, on the whole, than Democrats who live in the New York City area. At least maybe and we're talking about white Democrats largely when we're talking about upstate. Cuomo, when he ran against Zephyr Teachout, did very well in New York, in the 5-borough area. Does very well with minorities, broadly speaking, because that's where the Democratic base is, and those are the people that I think Cynthia Nixon are trying to reach. People living in the city, and I gotta say, I mean, I don't know, but if I was a black person, or if I was, someone who had, been dealing with, my rights abused as a transgender person, I heard Andrew Cuomo say sort of like flippantly, like, I am one of those people, I am a black person, I would just be like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that's all it takes? You just say you're a black person. You don't have to go through any of the crap that I go through on a daily basis. And you get to, I think that type of stuff, I mean, it just sort of explains like what's wrong with Andrew Cuomo. He's completely tone deaf and doesn't get it.
Well, I mean, it couldn't be worse than doing what he did. And it was laughable. I mean, it was, when I saw it, I literally laughed out loud as I was watching it because of the absurdity and the fact that he just does not understand this modern dynamic. I mean, him claiming that is, it's insulting on its face that he would claim that he would say that. It's not like I am Spartacus, right? I mean, yeah. It's like the opposite. I'm a privileged white man, and I'm standing up here and I'm claiming, that my identity is all of you. Well, that's kind of the opposite of what's going on right now. And he was not claiming that identity in case, in the sense of having any policy or ideological or any kind of philosophical sort of identification in terms of the way he has, run his office all these years.
Right. He has no stakes in any of that. He has no stakes in any of that. It's not like he's like, I'm taking the subway every day, so I'm one of you. No, it's just, I'm just going to say exactly. I'm one of you.
Exactly. I mean, just going out and saying this, Andrew, dude, get a clue. This isn't really going to work. And I don't honestly know if Cynthia Nixon can cross all those lines either.
Right.
But, what this does do is it points up the fact, look, we've been now knee deep in sort of a progressive revolution, for the last, 4 years, actually way beyond that, but just very intensely, I think, since the presidential campaign began, say, back in 2015, where we're sitting here kind of seeing the party itself kind of work itself through a new sort of progressive identity. For him to have waited, he comes from a big blue state. I mean, New York is New York. It's not exactly Alabama. So he had a chance to see all this happening prior to the moment when he's suddenly in the midst of a primary campaign. And he could have laid the groundwork for this in some substantial ways on a policy level, and doing outreach to these communities that he now identifies with. And he could have laid the groundwork for an evolution that I think may have even seemed believable to people. I mean, maybe you could say, hey, look, he wised up, he evolved, he and Obama did on gay marriage. I mean, it can happen. But he didn't do that. He waits until he gets a primary opponent and then goes out and starts blasting a bunch of drivel. And clearly, I don't think he thought of it.
No, absolutely.
Before he saw it on that page, this is like the first time he'd ever considered that maybe he had an issue here. So, this is going to be a very interesting race to watch, because I think what you're seeing is the sort of mainstream establishment, centrist Democrat faced with how to deal with a party that is moving beyond him and how he's going to negotiate that. And so far, it's not looking good for Andrew Cuomo.
And there are already dividends. I mean, with the reinstatement of 35,000 felons' voting rights reinstated,
exactly,
and that's not nothing. That's really good. That's good policy, and I like I say, I think we're going to have by the time this race is over, I think we're going to be very close to full legalization of marijuana in this state, based on.
Well, it's overdue, really.
It's way overdue, and you would have think that Cuomo would have picked this up after running against Zephyr Teachout, because this was out there, but no, and I got the interesting thing too is that you had the unions leave the Working Families Party because Cuomo is now so angry about this challenge that he's basically threatened to destroy the unions. And I have a feeling they'll be back in 12 months or whatever it is, 8 months after November. But we'll see.